Hey guys, how are we all?
Good, good.
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 Excellent.
Perfect. Can everyone hear each other?
Yes.
Perfect. Great. Perfect. Okay. Hi guys. To all of those who are watching, welcome to the event Journey to the Cloud. Today, we're joined by Dan Ray, Ben Forst, Joseph Barnett, and Frank Falvey. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Dan. Or Matt.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so we'll start off just a quick intro for everybody. I'll start off with myself. My own name's Matthew. I've worked in IT for the last 10 years. My specialty is in Azure Solutions, Azure Administration, cybersecurity. I'm RIT Tech registered, and I run a non-for-profit website called FocusIT.ie, which helps people in learning the different Microsoft and CompTIA certifications. So I'm going to hand it over to our next person, which is Dan.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It may be morning. Who knows? My name is Dan Ray, and I am a Microsoft certified trainer, as well as a recent Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. After 5 years of nominations and hard work and over 30 years in IT, last month in February 1st, I found out that I became a awardee of the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. I've been an MCT for 22 years. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, nice to meet you. My name is Joseph Barnett. I have over 30 years experience in IT. I got out the military in 2000, transitioned from being a cable dog, so all your telephony needs. Currently, I'm an MCT certified. I'm also MS 700 associate exam certified. I own JB's Cloud Solutions, and I just started a new nonprofit called Project Veteran House that I'm very excited about. But it's nice to meet everybody, and can't wait to bring on the questions. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Ben Furch. I am a Microsoft 365 collaboration consultant. I worked in IT for 9 years, almost at the 10-year mark, but just not quite there to be able to say that 10-year decade credential. Worked for Fortune 500 companies, and now I'm actually branching out with my own company, ShareNo Consulting, doing a lot of the collaboration build-ups, sharing knowledge, and now looking to finally get those certifications.
How you doing? Frank Falvey here, and I've over 20 years experience in the IT sector. I work large enterprise, mostly in the storage industry, and got a few certifications down through the years under my belt. Most recently Azure, and got the MCT, which I'm very happy. And I'm here, I suppose. Dan got the MVP this year. I was nominated previously and got nominated again, and hopefully I might get it right this time. But my goal is to kind of help people along their line to get their certifications and all that. So nice to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, so for all those who are watching, as part of our agenda tonight, we decided to do a special on the AZ-104. Frank, who I've known a good few years now at this stage and reached out to back in my Dell days. Frank did the AZ-104, and so did I. But Frank was one of the lucky people that had to take two exams, or sorry, not two exams for the AZ-104. It was two for the AZ-303 and 304. But Frank has a lot of experience within Azure, and I thought it'd be nice that Frank shares that with us and with our viewers, and just gives us an idea of how he went about getting the AZ-104 for those who are unsure of the route to take.
Sure. So, as you can see from some of the older guys, you remember this one, the Microsoft Virtual Academy. That's where I started. And we, back in the day, that's where you kind of was the go-to. So as you can see from this slide here is where Microsoft replaced the Virtual Academy with Microsoft Learn. That's what it used to look like back in the day. So click on to the next one there. So Dan, so that's the first one. That's what the kind of Azure administrator kind of used to look back in the day. That was the certification 70533. And as you can see up in the top there, top left hand corner was the 733. So to get to the newer one, I had to do AZ102 to get me the Azure administrator. So as you say, Dan, I had to do two of them to get the one. So yeah, so this is my main one. Now this is where I go for all my learning these days. I used to do a lot of YouTube and be all over the place, but lately now I focus on this because all the content is up to date. It's very hard to find your way around this platform. I stumble across stuff all the time, all new stuff. And if you click on to the next slide here, this is what I discovered there recently. You can actually download all the sample questions and answers, and it actually tells you how to actually answer the questions. You know what I mean? So you could download the questions. We say 20 of them, and go along and have a stab at them so you answer them. And if the ones you don't, then you can go back to and you can see the breakdown of the actual questions itself, which is very good, And as you can see from this clip, it was only updated there in September last year. So they update it all the time, you know what I mean? So I find practice, looking over the stuff is very good for getting the certifications.
Frank, can I ask you a question? For
Sure.
those
Where
of
did
us,
I get? How'd you get to this page?
no, not that. I'm not that bad. No, it's a good question actually. The AZ-104 is all about administration of Azure, of the tenant, kind of conditional access policies, all that kind of stuff. Is back in the day, you were saying you did a lot of YouTube and stuff. Did you ever come across the likes of John Saville or any of those on YouTube? What did you think of them?
John Saville, very good, loads of stuff on there. My main guy is Tim Warner. Do you ever come across Tim?
Yeah.
Tim is very good, and I got some great tips at the start where he would kind of get a question and kind of break it down. Like you could get a question now, and the actual answer is actually in the question. Did you see any of those, Matt?
Yeah, I actually did. I got asked a question before on a script, and the actual answer for the question was quoted like, "Do you know what script would work for such and such?" And without giving too much away, because obviously there's an NDA there with Microsoft, the actual answer, how you knew it was the right answer, was the fact that it said scripted the answer. And to my amazement, I was like, oh yeah, I remember doing that at some point, long time ago. But yeah, it was there. So often the answer is in the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Frank?
And another good thing is two words, static and dynamic. Do you know those ones? Like
Yes, yeah.
Like the static one, things don't change, like IP addresses and wherever like that, they stay the same. But you see a lot of dynamic coming up in questions, right? When they talk about different groups and wherever like that, dynamic is in there. And, we say like Office 365, where you have all different groups and wherever like that, you know what I mean? They kind of
Yes.
focus on the dynamic rather than kind of static roles, So you can have loads of different groups in one thing, so they're dynamic, static and dynamic. And another thing is, if you see another kind of buzzword and thing, if they say we want all of these groups or whatever like that, they're talking really like, say, if a company has got um, a big site and it's in all countries in the world and wherever like that. When they say all, it's nearly always global. If you've got global in there, it's all, So things like that you get from Tim Warner. He gives all those handy little tips, which are very good,
What I find as well is helpful in doing the Azure stuff. I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong. Thomas Marari or Maruru or something. It's Thomas, anyways. He's a well-known Azure advocate online. He worked with Microsoft for many years. He has some brilliant content out there on guides for some of these exams. So I presume he'd be another good one to follow.
Yeah, I see him there as well. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll move on to the agenda. That's the sharing? There it is. Yeah. So we've talking about the Azure Administrator Associate exam, which is the AZ-104, which has taken over in terms of you used to have to do 2 exams, like Frank said, and now it's just 1. But what is the fundamental of all of these exams? What really cements that knowledge before you go and take your associate or expert level exams? So does anybody want to give a talk for a few minutes on just some of the fundamental exams I have up there from each person's perspective? So we'll start off with Dan.
Sure, I can pick one of the fundamentals here, and I'll do. Why don't I do the Azure AI certified fundamentals, if that's okay with everybody? Do we want to decide which ones each person is going to talk about, or do you just want me to pick one?
Dan's going to do the AI. Frank's going to do the administrator. Give a quick overview on that again. I would be happy to do the 365.
Okay.
And anybody else there?
I've passed all these fundamentals, but I don't have the administrator associate yet, so that's the only one I can't speak to.
Does anyone want to talk about the Azure or the data fundamentals? We can tie them in anyways if not everyone has done these. So go ahead, Dan.
So like I said, I've passed the fundamentals that are on this slide. The main one that I have not passed is the Power Platform fundamentals exam. So many of the other fundamentals exams, they don't get too far into the details, but to Frank's point, you need to understand the concepts really well. So for whether it's Azure or the data or the artificial intelligence exams from a fundamental perspective, Ed mentioned it. Microsoft Learn became my best friend for these. So as an MCT, I have access to the courseware, which is another benefit of being a Microsoft certified trainer. But the courseware is to impart knowledge to other people, not with a primary function to pass the exam. Microsoft Learn, many of the modules and the design is directly associated with trying to pass the exam. So Microsoft Learn not only gave me the exam objectives, so I could see if there was weighting that was different in different topics, but it also allowed me to learn on demand and for free at Microsoft's Learn site.
Okay. What I have found with the likes of, actually, there's, to be honest, all four of them there kind of tie in with each other if you think about it, because the Azure Fundamentals focuses on the basics of Azure, the likes of AD Connect, your understanding what AZ Copy is, Azure Storage Explorer, all that kind of stuff. The AI is actually a really fun exam. I'd say I knocked it out in about 20 minutes. It is all about understanding images, how Azure can create tags for those images, how they compute in terms of resource groups and stuff. The data, from what I remember, was a lot about the storage, which Frank would remember, I'm sure, vividly from the administrator exam. Frank, would I be right?
Yeah,
As the
all
data, yeah,
the blob storage and
yeah,
the file and queue, those type of ones. Yeah.
yeah. And the 365, I'm sure, I think most of us have seen some part of the 365. It mostly focuses on setting up an Office 365 tenant, integrating that tenant using the Azure AD Connect, understanding the sync services, understanding user groups, teams, that kind of stuff. 365 is kind of a general all-rounder from what I remember. Um, in saying that, all four exams, great exams, fun exams, interesting exams. Anybody like to weigh in there on that?
So Dan, you actually done the AI one, did you?
Yes, yeah. I think
So
that might be the most recent.
is there machine learning in that one?
You know, I just put the links in the chat, and from what I recall, there was machine learning. Let me pull up the exam weighting here. Skills measured, AI workloads, fundamental principles of machine learning, computer vision workloads, natural language processing, NLP workloads, AI workloads. But machine learning was the heaviest weight at 30 to 35%.
Okay, cool.
Okay, all right.
I'd done one or two talks on the machine learning, got to do with the design, Microsoft design machine learning. Have anybody come across that one? It's a kind of a drop and drag. There's no
Yes.
coding. It's actually quite cool, you know. They come up, Microsoft will give you this cheat sheet to kind of say, look, what do you want to do? And you can kind of drag in all your different algorithms. We'd say if it's a kind of a two-factor one, like if you have got a data set and you want to see if there's fraud in the data set, we say like and you want an answer like to say yes or no, you kind of use a two-factor algorithm to give you your yes or your no, that sort of thing, and you just drag it into the field. And it's quite cool.
Okay, all
Excellent.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think the next thing is the additional topic. So these are questions that a lot of people starting out in the role-based journey I've seen that have asked me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. That's for my Twitter handle. It's Azure Guru Matt, and for Dan Ray, what's your handle, Dan?
Stilldrey, Stilldrey.
Perfect. And if anyone else has a Twitter handle, if you want to shout it out there, no.
Uh,
Okay.
Twitter, I just use Frank Falvey. That's it. Or FELVEF.
Perfect. Perfect, Frank. Okay, so the questions we get asked as IT people, why would you want to understand the basics of Office 365? Why is Office 365 important? Dan, why is Office 365 important in this day and age? What have we gone from where we used to be on-premise solutions with Exchange, and now we've moved over to Office 365 for a lot of large multinational companies? What's happening in that space?
Yeah, so in many situations, the products moved from on-premises to cloud, as you mentioned. And with that, they're getting updates much more frequently. So when I started with Office, it was always the years, whether it was SharePoint, Exchange, or the Office applications that you use on your desktop computer. It was always thinking about 2007 or 2010, and then waiting for 2013, those big reveals and changes every 3 years, typically. With cloud-based versions of Office 365, now called Microsoft 365, and it encompasses way more than just what we would consider Office backend or front-end applications. There are many that are cloud first or born in the cloud. For instance, Microsoft Sway, I don't even think you can use without having a internet connection. Or one of the things I used for the cover photo for our event today was a Azure website for the file transfer that you can use with the new Office app for iOS or Android. You can actually go to a website, use a QR code on Azure, and use that to transfer files from your phone, your mobile device, directly into your computer.
Okay. All right. Ben, SharePoint, Office 365, why is it important to understand the basics, never mind the associate or expert level stuff? You've been working with SharePoint for a good few years. Why is Office 365 important to understand the fundamentals in that sense?
Oh, from the basics, you could integrate it. And it's just undeniable that you can integrate it and that the storage of your document and content is fundamentally oriented around SharePoint. A lot of things you do in Teams, backends to SharePoint. A lot of your content and collaboration, it's SharePoint. It's just a fundamental place to know how to store, how to find, and so much can be built off of it with Power Platform and connecting to your emails and inbox, processing tasks, workflows, everything. There's so much that
So,
builds off of just the basis that it's hard to deny that it's a great thing to start with.
so if you basically, would I be right in saying, Ben, if you don't understand Office 365 and SharePoint and how they integrate, you're going to make your life quite difficult, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Especially in an IT environment.
Yep. I would say that the beyond SharePoint, what would be the most fundamental is having some kind of email system. But I'd say SharePoint is a close second to that, especially if
I
you're in a
see.
Microsoft environment.
I see SharePoint is kind of overtaking the need for file servers a lot in companies. They're moving over to SharePoint sites rather than having file servers. So there's an instant need there now in the world that people have advanced level of SharePoint knowledge to understand how to properly implement a SharePoint directory and site and permissions levels. Have you ever seen basic mistakes because people didn't understand the fundamentals with integrating Office 365 and SharePoint?
Yeah, I've seen a few basic mistakes like enabling OneDrive for Business as your entire data center for all users to connect to one location. Not great if you want to, hide your HR content or your legal content where you need a more structured and secure environment. So I've seen plenty of simple mistakes that basic
We
understanding could help.
we see that I see that Edward Gallagher posted there's a huge value to certifications when it comes to an easily demonstratable benchmark of your skill set to advance your career. Edward, I would have to agree, and I think everyone on this conversation agrees that that is something you have to have in this day and age. Like, you need to have the certifications to show that it's not just to show that you actually know your stuff, but it shows that you're invested in learning more and progressing through the ranks. And I think Microsoft Learned does an excellent job of it. I do think there's a lack though of subsidized learning in terms of exam vouchers and stuff. I mean, if you look at Microsoft's exam structure, it's $165 a pop per exam. And if you're taking over 18 to 20 exams in different areas, you're going to rack up a pretty nice bill in terms of getting certified. So I think that's something that definitely could be addressed or made easier for students learning these skill set. What do you think, guys?
That's exactly where I'm at, actually, is I don't have the certifications yet. And a lot of places, especially for expanding business or getting additional work, really look at those as foundational benchmarks. So having the skill set alone is not enough. You need the proof and the evidence to back it up and show the investment.
Frank, in Dell, in your time, you and I would
We
both
used
know that certs
we
were major. Yeah.
yeah. I suppose with me having a lot of certifications, it was due to one of the perks Dell used to give us. You would have you could have a wad of vouchers in your thing. You could have 10 vouchers to go away and do 10 exams if you wanted to at any one time, which is multiplied by 165. Like, it's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
So
So,
yeah.
like, some people would say, like, if you don't know what a particular exam is like or ever, um, do all the training and think, if you think you're okay, ready to go and do it. I was able to go away and do the exam, and if I failed it, I knew I had another voucher to go away and do it again. So,
So the
you
replay
know,
option is a good idea.
like, it's okay to fail, because when you go in, you know what you're after failing at, and you go back. Like, you see 700 to get over the line. I've done one or two, and I'm up there, like, and I'm 674, and I'm saying, gee, look, 24 more points and I'd have got over the line. I come back the next time then, and
And you ace it.
you ace it, like, you're up in 900 and whatever, like, so.
I saw a guy recently on LinkedIn. I'm not going to say his name because, that's not my place. I saw a guy recently posted he got 1,000 marks in his security, compliance, and identity. And that just goes to show the dedication he had in learning the fundamentals. And in the end of the day, pass is a pass, 700 is 700. If you score more, even better. It just means you have strength in that area. And I think I know for me that I'm a nervous tester. So what I find works is that looking at the morning of, I look at some of the exam cram sessions by John Saville and stuff, and he has some great stuff on YouTube, and I think that helps. Okay, so another thing we were asked in the additional topic section of the presentation was the importance of integration of Azure and the hybrid model. So, guys, do we see a serverless environment going forward? Do we see a merge of hybrid? What do you think?
I think the buzzword kind of out there now is hybrid, because a lot of companies are kind of looking at multi-cloud. Have you heard kind of multi-cloud thrown about? So companies people are looking for value these days. Like, if somebody wants to have all their archive stuff over on some particular cloud, which is cheaper, and you hear the words vendor lock-in as well. So some companies don't want to be locked in. So hybrid, I think, is going to see a lot of.
Yeah, I agree. Ben, Microsoft Learn, great, brilliant spot to really delve into the world of Microsoft exams and learning and taking quizzes. And I think what's nice is Microsoft have brought out They show you an example of what the exam will look like in a sandbox environment, and it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, I actually
Um,
saw that there this week, Matt. It's actually very good. The drop and drag and show you what you're going to expect. Yeah, there's a few.
Sorry, Frank. I got to interrupt you there for 1 second. Edward Galler, Edward, you're so right. I actually okay. So Edward says it's not just about passing the certification; it's about learning the process. And as you go through the practice exams and get wrong, you shouldn't be just guessing the answers. You should go back and study topics and learn why. So he is so right. A good a good friend of mine that I've kind of been following for the last 8 or 9 years now at this stage, and I write to him regularly at Jason Dion. He has some great stuff out there. It's more so in the CompTIA range rather than Microsoft, but one thing he said that has always stuck with me is that if you're doing my test, if you're doing my practice tests and you're taking them 5, 6 times and you're failing them in certain areas and you go back and you redo them and you get them all right, that doesn't mean you've got them all right. You're just learning his answers. So
Yeah,
remember, guys, when you're doing these exams, learning the answers is not going to help you. Writing out the same answers is not going to help you. Repeating the same exams is not going to help you in terms of doing the same practice questions. Um, the likes of Udemy, Measure Up, Microsoft's Pearson View practice tests, Microsoft Learn practice tests, all those are resources that will help. But in the end of the day, learning off answers is just not something you should do. It's bad practice, and you should try to understand the fundamentals of what you're doing in each exam. And practice makes perfect. Mike, I see you said depends on the application. Okay, right. Yeah, that's certainly true. Um, I think overall, though, learning, reading, videos, all that kind of stuff helps in the exams. And I think that's the point we're making about using official Microsoft material is that if you use this material, you get the best results out of an exam rather than having to take it 2, 3 times. Would you agree, guys?
Absolutely. Using the to Edward's point, you shouldn't be guessing. You should, have a grasp. But if you're taking an exam and you maybe get it down to two, you are better off doing your best guess during an exam because you don't get partial credit for wrong. You get partial credit if you get part right. So to the point of, not a guessing, ideally, the answers, the material. But if you get it down to two and you're just not 100% on which one, taking a educated guess is better on an actual exam than not taking one.
Absolutely. And how do we feel about flagging questions for review, guys? Is that a good option?
I do that a lot. If I need more time to think about something and I don't have a clear answer, or even if I'm not in a case study area, I struggle with the read a bunch of information and have to pull out math information.
Yeah, yeah. And what you call it? How do people feel in terms of the performance based questions? Frank, how do you feel about those? At this stage, you have done so many of them.
when they're saying the performance-based ones, they're, I suppose, are you talking about the lab ones where you go in and do the
Yeah.
labs?
So I'm
Yeah,
I'm talking about the labs exactly, Frank.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the solutions architect, when I done it, you were laughing at me the last time I was telling you this. I I was at the start of it, and it was a 3-hour exam, right? They had two parts. You had to do one practical, answer all the questions, multiple choice, and then the other part was a 3-hour exam, and there was 18 labs in there. And I tell you, if you didn't know how to use, you just didn't pass because you got 18 labs to do, right? So you had to log into the cloud. You were assigned to set up storage account, launch VMs, VNet to VNet pairing, you name it. There was 18 labs, and
Frank, question for you on that, right? People have failed that exam. Okay, people have failed it, and they've got discouraged. What's your best advice on the solutions architect exam if you fail it? What would you say would help someone that feels like, oh no, I failed it, I'm not good enough, you know?
I'd get like I have my own account, and I just go in and I just launch practice all the time. You know, take some of these case studies and just set up a whole environment. You know, storage accounts, um, VMs, all the different types. You know, practice.
Practice, practice.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Okay,
you know,
so yeah.
I've made a few videos on YouTube, all right, doing them, and it kind of gives you a good kind of how would I say, you know, you get a bit of courage then, like you know that look, I'm able to make this video, and I'm able to just go in there and spin up a VM there, or
Yeah.
you know, in the cloud, and I able to stick it up on YouTube for people to see, like you know, so. Um,
Okay,
like
so
a lot of people
yeah,
might have, you know, as you say, like go away and do the exams and practice, and all they're getting out of it is just passing multiple choices, whereas this
yes,
thing is actually you go in, like Microsoft learned, if you don't have an account, you can use the sandboxes as well, you know, even
mm,
if you're only in one particular thing and they give you the sandbox and you've got it for 3 hours, you can actually do everything in there, not just launch a VM.
re
You can go in and do all other practice stuff, you know.
realistically, Frank, though, from what I would remember when I practiced for that exam, I set up a virtual environment. Um, I mean, like, there's plenty of websites online that will give you access to a free virtual environment for a limited time of 30 days. And you can learn the stuff that way. Microsoft Learn, as you said, gives you a sandbox. And what you call it, if you're working for a company, most of the times companies will have a tenant that you can test things on, get learning through that, get educating yourself. You're not going to pass exams by reading books and looking at videos. You're
No.
going to pass by doing the actual content. You're going if you create a user in Active Directory, and you create a user in Office 365, let's say, right? And I had an example of a client that had mismatched immutable IDs where they created an account in Office 365. The user was present on the Active Directory environment, but the accounts weren't matching up in terms of the password sync, the immutable ID. They weren't working. So, what I learned when I was doing the Solutions Architect exam is that that exam actually teaches you how to do that kind of stuff, how to fix it, how to, when you see that issue, you know what it is. And as time goes on and you practice, that's how you will get through exams. It's a mixture of learning online videos, books, your own study notes, and taking advice from people who have been in the IT industry for 30 plus years also helps. Hands on is definitely so important, Edward. I agree with you on that. Ben raised a query a few minutes ago. We were talking about why people become MCT certified. People do become MCT certified because of of the fact that they want to help people, and yes, there are discounts. In terms of how can people get into the certifications where they're starting out, the my best guess and best answer to that would be to go off and do the Microsoft Spring Challenge. That gives you multiple exam vouchers, and it's not just one, it gives you multiple exam vouchers. You get a free backpack, you get training days from Microsoft certified trainers. Chelsea Lee, Christian Verga, um, all those people are very well known in the Microsoft community. They deliver a lot of that content. Um, Working with others in a study group, yes, Edward, yeah, that has great value. Creating a little group together of 3 or 4 people, maybe doing a few labs, that kind of stuff, hands on, yeah, absolutely. Um,
Hey,
okay, yeah,
Matthew, I got something.
yeah,
So my question is for people that we know it, we know what tools we have to use and where to go. My question is somebody that doesn't have the knowledge or have the resources to be able to get these free sandboxes, free tenants. We can do that. So that's just a general question on what would you think would be the best practice of reaching out to people that they don't have the knowledge or the networking that we have with the Microsoft
okay.
piece and everything.
Okay, so people, okay, so as we're all aware, this is our second event, and I'm hoping this is going to go on for the next year in terms of we're going to really establish ourselves as people who are helping others. What I would like to think of is that as we do the events, people will reach out to us online, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter. Maybe reach out through my website, www.focusit.ie. The link will be in the video. Maybe reach out to the likes of yourself, Joe. You've been helping veterans out, getting started in IT. We all have a part to play. Dan's an MCT of 20 years plus. Frank is a recent MCT who, will be delighted to help anyone with questions. I myself am only thrilled to help, assist, give advice to anything that people that want to do it and need it. I will be there. I will send the emails out. I will reply to the comments. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if anyone should ever need to ask those questions, they should definitely come to me. I'd be delighted to help. Okay, Dan, we have a new comment in there from someone.
Yeah, this is from, it looks like Husim.
Okay.
How do you choose the right path? I took the AZ204, but should I work for the DP420 to prove capabilities with Cosmos DB because I worked with it a lot, and therefore it's a good idea to take some other fundamentals besides AZ900 or SC900? And it looks like Edward's got a response here too.
Okay, so I actually have a good point to make on that, and I'll do that in a sec. Edward Gallagher says what I'd like to do in the study group is to have members teach each other different topics to group. Yeah, absolutely. Teaching other ways is a great way to learn. I agree, Edward. In my job as a cybersecurity administrator at work, I do this with younger engineers. I help them in terms of I show them how to do something or how to diagnose something, and then the next time they get a query or an environment like the one I showed them, I get them to show me what they understand. And then thereby we're teaching other people in the organization how to, from the different point of views, from my point of view, from the learner's point of view, from another engineer's point of view, we all get together and collaborate and show each other how we saw the problem. And that's what I love about IT. It's all about getting together and going through that. That's great. Is there any for folks to join, Cos? Yeah, good question, Ben. Groups available for folks to join. What do you think, Dan?
I know Edward is another MVP. He's in the Chicagoland area, Ben. So Edward has a lot of, in the past meetups, he's been involved with study groups, that type of thing. So I'm sure that's something we could talk about. I invited him here, and I'm glad he was able to join us. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he's been an MVP for numerous years. I've lost count at this point.
If at this stage, Edward, for the next talk, you should definitely join us as a speaker. We'd be only thrilled to have you, and it would be a privilege to have. The more MVPs we get on these talks, the better, because ye are people who have been in the industry for decades. As someone that was just nominated for an MVP, I'm only delighted and privileged to be able to work with such people that are already MVPs and MCTs. In terms of a group, Dan, I'm sure we could create a group going down the line before the next event. We could create a WhatsApp or a LinkedIn group or something. I'll make it available on my website. Dan and I will promote it. Whatever we can do to help, that's what we're here for, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah. Edward is one of those mentors for me and Matt. We met. I'm looking forward to introducing you to Edward at some point. He's a wealth of knowledge, like I said, just 15-year MVP. So, and Edward, I don't know how long you've been an MCT, but a 3-digit MCP ID is 4 less digits than mine. Mine's in the millions. People that have gotten an MCP recently, I believe my son's is in the 14 million range. So they're sequential. They were given out sequentially. It's not like random numbers.
Dan, have we got that question about the DP exam? Are we able to bring that back up? Sure. Because I don't feel we answered that. So, right. Okay. So, prove my capabilities with Cosmos. Okay. So, to start with, the SC900 will not prove your proficiencies in the Cosmos database. I can tell you that for certain because I have taken that exam recently and there's very little of Cosmos in that. What will prove your proficiency in Cosmos would be the Power Platform Fundamentals exams. And that's one exam that's worth doing, and getting stuck into the Azure Administrator Associate exam. That has plenty on Cosmos database in it. As a matter of fact, I think there's a full section dedicated to it.
Is that AZ100 or is that?
I'm not too sure what the Power Platform Fundamentals code is, but I know the AZ104 has plenty of Cosmos database in that exam. I remember that vividly because I got a lot of questions on it.
Excellent.
PL900. Okay. And AZ104. Okay. Yeah. Have we any other questions that came in there, Dan?
Looks like Ben's got one. Ben, feel free if you're able to come off mute. Feel free to ask. You're in the.
Am I still on mute?
No, you're off.
Okay.
You're welcome to ask here.
I didn't. You guys had some great information. I didn't want to talk over anybody, so I was just kind of playing the end user role and teasing out questions and connections and resources as much as I could.
Yeah, this is perfect.
I think maybe I might have gone a bit quick over in terms of Joseph and Ben have both mentioned the fact, how do people actually get started in these, in IT, in Microsoft, in CompTIA, in ISC Squared, and all these different, vendors. My advice, don't get your hands stuck into too many vendors because it starts to get expensive and fast. In terms of Microsoft, start with fundamentals, register for the learning days, the training days. They're available on Microsoft Learn's website. Register and for the Microsoft newsletter if you're not an MCT. If you're just a regular user, register for the Microsoft Learn newsletter. You will get told about events and stuff. Microsoft has recently launched the Microsoft Spring Challenge. Get involved in that. That is a free event. You will literally get most of the fundamental exams for free out of that event. And the more you participate in those kind of events, the more exams you will get for free. When you become comfortable that you've done the fundamentals you want to do, try go for an associate level exam. Unfortunately, there's no 100% discount for those in any way. It's only if Microsoft launch an event for them that says, yeah, we'll give you one exam completely for free. If not, sometimes they might give you 50% off as a regular user. For MCTs, it's usually 75 or 50% anyways. In terms of the expert exams, if you go down that route, there is 50% discount off them, regardless of, in terms of if you're an MCT, it's 50% and that's it. You won't get an exam voucher for the full cost of expert level exams. And that's pretty much the Microsoft certifications, how they operate in terms of vouchers, discounts, and stuff. If not, try getting involved in communities that that give away free vouchers for associate or expert exams.
Joseph, was the MS 700 your first exam, or did you have other Microsoft exams?
No other Microsoft exams. I had CompTIA Security Plus. I'm ITIL certified, but I got grandfathered into it after I received it. But yeah, MS 700, my first Microsoft exam. And then, and that brings me to think about, is that something, because, it's a one and done, and Ben was talking about MCT and like what requirements. He has a wealth of knowledge with SharePoint and the underlying applications that are dependent on Teams. And I think, that would be a good one for Ben, but I know that's not where the subject is today. But I think his experience, he'd be able to grasp the concepts very easy.
I actually agree with you, Joseph, in terms of I think you brought out one important thing there. You just said Ben had experience with SharePoint. Ben has over 9 years at least with SharePoint. So therefore, someone like Ben does not need to do fundamental exams. And I do want to stress that to people that are, panicking, oh, I have to do the fundamental exams. No, you don't, guys. You do the fundamental exams because you want to learn, you want to get for one, you want to get experience in what a Microsoft exam is like. If you're like Ben, just go for the associate level exam. If you've that experience, book the exam, go for it, give it a shot. If you're confident that you will pass it, without doing much study or looking at YouTube videos or reaching out to John Saville or any of those people online, or Dan, matter of fact, or myself, or any of us here. If you have that level of experience, go for the exam. Don't be afraid of it. Give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen is it tells you the areas you're not so good at, and you can just brush up on those for the next attempt.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Have we any more comments in there, Dan?
I don't think we went live on your YouTube. We might still be waiting for that 24-hour period.
Yeah, I don't think we did. I checked it earlier; it was still pending. Unfortunately, technology at its best.
Yes.
We will put a copy of this video up on the website either way, and LinkedIn and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have a question. Why would you want to get involved in communities like Twitter, LinkedIn, Spring Challenge events, Microsoft community, and tech community? Why would you want to get involved in all those good things as an IT engineer?
I think it expands your knowledge and your experience, and then also the experience that you can distill onto other programs, and to people that don't understand the process of how Microsoft works. So it's all about knowledge, and taking that knowledge and spreading it and giving it to somebody else that doesn't even know where to start. So it's all about giving back in my eyes with that.
Okay, and Frank, Ben,
yeah. Can you hear me still? Yeah. I suppose like some of the lads who are MVPs, they put their time in, and people know that they're people to go to, that they give their time to help people to learn stuff. Um, you know, you hear sometimes, you know, somebody like in family or wherever like that, can you show me how this works or wherever like that? And they say, no, 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 go away, you know. But no, these people are, you know, go-to people. Like if they're on YouTube, they're on there. They want to share their, you know, experience and help people. You know.
And that's my understanding, Dan, in a way as well about the MVP. One of the things it said was, you know, are you the go-to person for a family member or a friend or, you know, a colleague or a relative that goes to you and asks you for advice on IT products, services, and helping to implement them? Isn't that what part of the MVP is about? Just like an MCT, where you're giving advice and helping others?
Yeah, so it's community. I would say community focus is, from my perspective, one of the key pieces to either being nominated as an MVP or being awarded as an MVP. And it is an award. The analogy that really worked for me or spoke to me was some people win their Academy Award for their first movie, you know, a breakout role. Some people, like Amy Adams, hasn't won an Academy Award and has been nominated numerous times. So it's not a guarantee like the MCT. If you do A, B, and C, you can become an MCT, a Microsoft certified trainer. The MVP award is community focused. So unlike a movie where, you know, I made a movie, I've been nominated, and then I either win or I don't, with the MVP, it's like you made a number of different contributions and you need to document those contributions and the impact of those. Unlike a movie where they know how popular it was, they know, you know, the Academy or the people voting can judge your performance. From a Microsoft perspective, the people that are actually looking for MVPs need you to document where all those things are and what the impact was from a community perspective.
Absolutely. It's all about supporting the community. 100%, Edward. Yeah, I agree. As Dan said, MVP is something that people are not can be nominated for, but may never get for a long time. Um, the great experience again involved is about sharing the knowledge and brings the value to ourselves, companies, and therefore the community. Couldn't agree more with you, Diego. I think I pronounced that okay, Diego. I agree. Community. It's all about how you can help each other in a world where people are so obsessed with helping themselves. The MVP and MCT and the Microsoft community in general, it's about helping each other get better, grow better, uh, educate each other, show support for those who are starting out in their journey. Um, be a friend, be a hand, lend your services and support to people. Let that shine through because there's not enough people in the IT industry out there that are actually helping others. We all know that there are people, you know, there's people that are in IT but have never got certified. And that kind of brings down the community in a way in terms of everybody else is trying to better the community and show strength in numbers. And that's what it's about, just to help people. I just want to briefly discuss this slide. So what I know we've said white. So why become Microsoft certified? What does it mean for each of us that are Microsoft certified? In terms of for me, it shows that I have the skills that I say I have. It shows that I'm interested and invested in what I do as an IT administrator. Dan, why did you get certified?
I got certified in 1998, and it was between a project that was to install a bunch of Windows NT workstations at a large insurance company in Chicagoland. And we had a break where they had started the installs and they decided to make some tweaks or changes to the image. And so within 1 month, I became an MCSE in Windows NT 4, passing 6 exams in a month. The idea of taking that first exam was just, I've never taken one. I should probably take one. When I passed that, I realized, well, maybe I should take another one. And the ball just kept on rolling. And I took 6 exams within a month, kind of in a lull from that project. And it was an opportunity to prove it to myself, and then also to get that MCSE at the time, Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer or Systems Expert, depending on when you got your MCSE, when that was around.
And some of it is for the stamp of approval to say, hey guys, look, I am as good as I am. I do my job to the best of my ability. I know my stuff, and I'm part of a wider community of MCPs. And I'm pretty sure that community is quite large now in 2022 for all those MCPs, which is amazing how it changes in 20 years anyways. Frank, why did you get Microsoft certified? What was your reason?
I suppose I looked at all the different clouds like AWS, IBM, Oracle, and Microsoft was just so easy to navigate your way around, and that's, I suppose, like Dan there, he kind of said his first cert was back in '98. I was saying, wow, when it was mine. I actually didn't do any that far back, but the first one I got was a digital certification. These you have credibly up on your thing there, Matt, where all the digital certs are stored. So my first one was with EMC, the Modern Data Center, and it was a brilliant course teaching you about the whole data center, from orchestration to storage all the way through to, it was a brilliant one. So that's kind of got me on the path to certification, digital certification.
And how do we all feel about this free renewals going forward? Is that a thumbs up for everybody?
Yeah, well, I think some of them there, I got an email to say that, the solutions architect, if you've done it already, I done the repeat already in December, so mine is good for another year. But they're redesigning it going forward, so you actually can't do it that way. You have to go and resit the exam. So it's not all
for the solutions architect.
Yeah.
I understood that it was through the Microsoft renewal system.
Yeah, I done it. But
Dan?
After that,
I know I'm not sure if all of them are under the renewal, but I know the fundamentals exams, as an example, you don't have to renew.
Okay, but the associate level exams, from my understanding, are definitely under renewals.
Yeah. The associate.
Are we saying the expert level exams aren't under the renewals?
They are, but because they're updating them, stuff is becoming legacy so quick. Kind of, you have to go back and do some of them.
Yeah, I like your comment, Edward. My cert was Nova NetWare in 1991, then quickly switched to the dark side of Microsoft. Oh, I love it. Brilliant. Love those kind of comments. Keep them coming in, Edward. Okay, so I will get an official response from Microsoft on the expert level side. I actually do want to know that for myself, never mind anyone else. I'd hate to think, what are we in now? We are in March, isn't it? Yeah. So I would hate to think come another 4 or 5 months' time that I can't do a renewal assessment for the expert. To have to go sit that exam again will be painful. Okay, so Credly, Why? Edward, I can't keep up with you. 120 certs. Oh
He wins.
dear, I thought I was good with my 30 or 40 certs, Genie Mac. Yeah, Edward's been at it a while, Dan, by the looks of it.
He has.
Yeah, yeah.
I think with a lot of the stuff, LinkedIn, the way if you do any the LinkedIn learning and they add them to your profile, I've done
Yeah.
so many of them kind of, down through the years there. And I started going back in to delete stuff in there because any of the kind of good certifications that you've done, they just get swamped. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys. Quick question: how many of you are registered with Credly? Are we all registered with Credly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
credit.
Ben? Yeah. Yeah.
Nope, not yet.
Okay, but
I will.
you'll get registered eventually. Okay, so for those of you who are new to the certification journey, Credly is your master. It is where you showcase and where you get approved by the vendors for your certification. So once you've set up Credly, you can start to accept badges and certifications from Microsoft, ISC Squared, CompTIA, um, PeopleCert, Axelis. Oh, great, Dan! You have my Credly up there. If you scroll down, and we just go from most popular to most recent.
37.
Yeah, so most
Wow.
recent, and we scroll down. So I was busy last night doing the MTA networking. Went back and did it before its retirement, which is this month. So we can see here we've varied level of exam vendors. Microsoft. If we scroll down, we have CompTIA. Okay, so if we just go into CISA there for a sec, and we click into that. So yeah, that one there. Okay, so the importance of Credly in a cybersecurity environment is the fact that people will go and do what's known as, Dan, is it a DoD check or something it's called, where they go and verify your credentials in background checks. What's it in the US?
Yeah, I know there's trying to remember. Scott Brewster mentioned there's like a background check or a something you can get like cleared, maybe like whether you're cleared for something.
Yeah. So I remember from my time. I know Frank probably didn't have this, but when I was in Dell, I went through what was known as a Dell Data Watchdog check, and they basically went off and verified my credentials. Because you can't just say you have these credentials. That's the beauty for people who have earned them. If Dan, if you scroll up to the top and we go to the verify button, if you hit verify on that, so basically this is a digital credential that will allow people to check when you originally got the accreditation, that you've kept it updated, that you have followed the guidelines for it, and that you are saying you have what you have and it's valid. And a lot of employers will go and check this. It's very easy to check it because most employers will request your transcript from either Microsoft or CompTIA or PeopleCert or any of those. But Credly is an easy way to share that verification to the world, and it also is good to have on your LinkedIn when you're looking for entry-level roles in IT, help desk, cybersecurity, networking, data centers, whatever it is you want to go for. But that's the importance of Credly when you're starting out in your journey. So that's what most people get registered with. Anyone want to add anything to that just before we go on to the next slide? No? No?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I threw this in. How many of ye were at the MCD conference this week, or at least looked at a bit of it? I know I looked at a bit of it. Dan?
I did not have a chance this week. I've been
Yeah, you've been
very,
swamped.
yeah.
Frank, Joseph, you didn't attend at all or look at it?
No,
Okay. All right. Okay, so we had a bit of exciting news for us cybersecurity people who love all things cybersecurity, which is anything from zero trust all the way over to honeypots, ransomware, and Mitra attacks. So they brought out, and I knew this was going to happen because when I started with the fundamentals in the SC series, I was like, where's the SC 100 exam? There has to be 100 exam. I've done 200, 300, 400, and 900. Where's the 100? So they were keeping that till now. They brought out the Cybersecurity Architect Expert exam, which will be launching in April of 2022. And I don't know about you, but I'm very excited for this exam. I think it's about time Microsoft had one for those who are in cybersecurity because CompTIA and ISC squared have already had these established for the last few years. What do you think, guys? Is it something you'll be delving into?
silence.
Silence? No, nobody's going to be looking at it. No, Dan.
Sorry, I'm looking up some other information. Sherry said lots of disappointments.
Oh dear, Sherry, what could we do better? Please send it into us. If not, join us on the next session. It would be nice to have
She's
you.
referring to the MCT summit, not to our show. Hopefully,
Oh, okay. Hopefully not to our show because that would be, yeah, we'll have to open up a complaints email address for that. What we did going
yes.
forward, if anybody has any complaints, we take them very seriously, obviously, but I suppose public trust clearance.
I think
Okay,
that's what it's called in the U.S.
okay, all right,
guess
that's what
it's-
it's called. Okay, what is cybersecurity cleared wording in the United States? Okay.
That's either it or it might be something else. But I asked Scott Brewster.
Yeah. So the cybersecurity expert is definitely going to be something we're going to be watching out for in April. I know as someone who is heavily invested in cybersecurity, I will hopefully be doing it myself. Depending on how much information I find out about this expert renewal thing after Frank giving me a bit of a heart attack, I may do I want to do it to have to resit the test every year? Maybe not. I'll keep my one expert exam, but I'll definitely look at it, see what it's like. I'll participate in the beta exam. And that's another thing, guys. Beta exams really, really, really worth getting involved in. Oh, we'd love to have you, Sherry. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It wasn't us.
Thank we'd love to have you, Sherry. Please do join us. It's an all male crew here. We need a few women involved. Especially with
Micah was with us last week, and she did have a conflict today. So
I know. No, to be fair to Micah, she did, and she apologized,
yes.
which was so nice of her to let us know. No, it'd be nice to have a few women on board with us, instead of having an all-male crew here. We get very boring at times. Speak for yourself, says Dan. Women in tech is something that's really important. I think all of us lads can get behind it to support those women who are in tech. It was recently, I think it was the Women in Tech Day. Was it a day or two ago, Dan, or when was it? It was this week, anyways.
Was that the Microsoft one? Like
Yeah, yeah, I think it was. There was some event, Women in Tech. Holly and two other girls had it
oh,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we can all get behind them and support them in their technology journey. I think it's great. Yeah, women. Yeah.
No, this is one, and then the one you're talking about, I think, was Isadora and um, the other person, Holly Lehman.
hmm Have have we got that? Yes. Yeah. Head into the cloud. Absolutely. And they're actually doing a great. They're doing a YouTube series on it. Um, yeah, women who love the community. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody out there who is a woman that loves tech, get involved. Uh, Reach out to people on LinkedIn. Reach out to all the men on LinkedIn as well that are in tech for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years. We all would love to help and promote the Women in Tech summit and events. And if there's anything any of the five or six of us can do, we'd be delighted to help. So the next thing, we're nearly there. So I just want to say an absolute thank you the um, to the lads Joseph and Dan and Frank who have donated to the Focus IT Fund. We've raised 200. I'm actually still waiting for that to clear from the system so that I can buy the exam vouchers. Um, Joseph donated directly to my website, which will help to keep the website going for another few months. It'll also help. I'll put some of that money towards a backpack. I've reached out to Microsoft to send me on some promotional products so that we can send them out to our learners. So obviously, thanks to everyone for getting involved with that. I have I have something really exciting. I'm going to end the slideshow there for a sec. I have something really exciting that I want to share. Um, I just posted it today. So I'm going to scroll over to, if I was prepared, I'd have this ready. www.focusit.ie. So I'm going to scroll over to Focus IT. So I do run a Microsoft blog for all things Microsoft, where we cover all the different exams. I have a few up there already. My most recent one was the Azure Solutions Architect. Some really good information up there. Okay. I now have added an events section where you can view our events from previous sections. This was our first event. The Journey to the Cloud event will be up here this afternoon / tomorrow morning. If you joined us from our website, you would have joined using this link, and we have a button there for our donate to the fundraiser for the ICT scholarship. I actually also have my own blog, which is worth a read if you want to see how I got started in IT, which is there. And down the, not down the line, but I've been doing it and I've got it up and running. I'm also doing sessions on the Azure Fundamentals exams, helping people to get started, some CompTIA in there. Some great content, some good stuff. Um, you can always send in your frequently asked questions to me through focusit.ie. Give me feedback. Let me know what you want to see. And yeah, so Focus IT was set up as a non-for-profit website. I want to try and help people who can't afford the price of education. Microsoft have the Spring Challenge, which gives most people the fundamental exams for free. But what people don't realize is when you start going into associate and expert level, they start to get a lot more expensive per exam. Well, it's 165, but I mean, if you take 4 or 5 exams, you're talking a good portion there. Um, please, please, please follow me on Twitter, like my LinkedIn, send me an email if you have any questions, support@focusit.ie or info@focusit. Um, you can also contact us through the website. So I wanted to share that out there with people. Um, I'd say you can we turn off the screen sharing now for that then? Yeah. So I think in terms of the presentation tonight, we've spoken about a lot of different things. Dan, have we got any questions for us towards this part of the session now that we've gone through the presentation? Is there anybody here that wants to say anything that would help people getting started in IT? Anybody?
Just looking if we've got anything on Facebook or other platforms. It doesn't look like there's anything over on Facebook.
I would just say get involved, connect with people, talk
Yeah.
with people. There's plenty of resources out there, but it really helps to have people to support you.
Totally agree.
I think being shy isn't an option in our industry. I was shy. I know Dan's going to laugh and say that's not true. I was shy. I reached out to Dan, and I actually reached out in a ranting point of view, I think, Dan. We were talking about Azure, and then I was like, yeah, well, do you know what? I've tried to be nominated for an MVP. I haven't got it. And Dan was like, it's going to take years. Relax. Takes time. He did nominate me though after a bit of time, and since then myself and Dan have been working together to try and come up with a community of people that want to help everybody. We genuinely do want to help everyone. Um, Myself and Dan, I'm sure down the line we're hoping to do co-sessions together in terms of we might do a few. Dan's an MCT for his career, so you deliver presentations literally daily. Would I be right, Dan? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm hoping to maybe if he's up for it, myself and himself might get on board together and do some live sessions on interesting topics like Azure and Office 365. Teams seems to be a really hot topic lately because of all the things you can do. And I definitely am I want to get involved in that. That's brilliant. And you have what women IT pros. That's perfect. That's great. People can see that. Really important to get involved and help out there where we can. Dan, do you want to say a few bits and pieces? I'll give myself a break.
So I think going around the horn makes sense too. And I know, Matthew, we've signed up for the Pakistan Tech Day next Sunday. So if you're looking for other places to find us, or if you have interest in getting involved with that, I don't think we've heard the time, but I've started on the slideshow. It's going to be people you should know in the Azure and the Microsoft Teams community. And that session got accepted, so we use Sessionize for that. Joseph, I know you might want to say something about Project Veteran House as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just in the initial phases, but we applied for our nonprofit last week, so we're waiting on that. I've contacted a couple businesses on, providing services, and one of the biggest things is, one of our goals is to give back and provide homeless veterans with a place to stay. So I've contacted an organization in Michigan that builds and provides a campus for homeless veterans with tiny houses. My initial vision was I wanted to have a virtual house like we talked about. But with this, now we can actually build a house for the veterans. We can provide them a service and an area to go to. And then, with the transitioning part, one of the things that is hard for soldiers transitioning to the civilian world, because I can tell you, it's a huge, huge transition. But having them the first couple days, there's like 3 days before you ETS, transitioning into the civilian world, it's not enough time. So having them transition from that into our program, which will provide, the free Microsoft training, certifications, job placements with some partners, and then from there, the ultimate goal is to have the veterans have health, be healthy, educated, and get advance in their career, and to get homeless veterans off the streets and get them into safe and just off the streets. That's pretty much the point of it. Very passionate about it. I started this because of my personal experiences dealing with PTSD and the symptoms and growing up in a time it was like, oh, you're a man, get over it. That's what we did. But I learned and adjusted, and then from the time I was at the VA, that day the facilities were subpar, and for something that you're supposed to be giving support and these services to people that fought for your country, it's you can't sit in an environment and say, oh, why is it so dirty, or what is the plan, what is the program, how do they get better? They don't. They just sit in the hospital and then, oh, let's get rid of them. There's no there's no life. There's no how to explain it. But yeah, that's the goal. I could talk all day, but I appreciate Matthew, Dan, Frank, everybody that I've done with. This was a thought 3 weeks ago, and I was always told, if you have a thought, write it down. So I drew it on my little makeshift whiteboard. And at first it was, let's have a virtual house with three levels, and each room will provide a different service. But then the more I thought about it is, initially we could just provide, these services, homeless, trying to find them places, then the tech piece. And then at the end, maybe 10 years, 15 years down the line, have a whole campus with medical facilities, your trainings facilities, and your tiny homes. So there's no, how you want to explain it? There's a one-stop shop. And another problem is VA and veteran soldiers getting to VA appointments. So one of my visions is to provide a van that goes to them instead of them coming to the VA, because that's a major topic. And then also we want to provide telehealth, and then healthy classes like, yoga, things that, when you deal with PTSD, the stress and all that, and how to breathe, how, just the little things. But at the end of the day, it's about being a family and being supportive and giving back without wanting something in return. And that's the most important thing, is love and giving back to the veterans that defend this country. They've defended this country and the soldiers now. That's all I have. I appreciate giving me the time to talk about it.
Well, I love how that could tie into, like you said, it could tie into cybersecurity, tie into new ways that we're defending and protecting. The traditional way was through through military service and going through basic and everything else. That whole cybersecurity area from a national defense perspective will be interesting to see how that maybe changes. Maybe basic someday will be more about computers, or at least portions of it would be. Was any of that?
That's why you got the AIT training. So Basic's all about pugil sticks and running your ass off. Or running your butt off.
You're good.
You're good. Every damn thing goes here. As Dan and I said, no, Joe, absolutely. When is your next event? When are you hoping to have it, or have you scheduled anything?
We haven't yet.
Okay.
I've met with a couple organizations that Volunteers of America that deal directly with homeless veterans in all the 5 boroughs in New York City. And just trying to make the connections and get, building the team and partnerships up to provide these services. And I'm not going to quit until I die. So, I'm stubborn. So that's how it is. And I appreciate it.
Have you a website, Joseph,
I
or
have,
anything?
I'm in the process of
Sorry.
building one. I built the LinkedIn company site today and launched it. And I was going to put something together on Wix just to do something real quick. But I said, no, I'm going to have somebody that, I know what I want in my vision, but I can't, I get frustrated. So that's where it is with the website. But that is one of the top, things I want to do.
Okay, please let us all know when you have some of that up and running, and I'm hoping in the next few weeks to have a section on my website. Well, I actually have it. I have fundraisers on it, but what I'd love to do is feature Project Veteran House on my website. And if you had your own donation page set up, Joe, I'd love to add that widget onto my website for your Project Veteran House. And if I can help, I'm in Ireland, so I can't physically provide help in terms of being there with you, but I would love to be able to provide anything I can in terms of remote help, remote learning, anything.
See, and that's the thing. Love and giving back is not just in the United States; it's worldwide.
Yeah.
So if you have love for the person beside you, and that's one thing that I learned in the military, is you didn't care about sex, religion, whatever. The person beside you is who you're going to die for. So that's what you got to put in perspective. Like we're all human beings, and we need to provide comfort for each other. Don't judge, just love, and that's my thing. That's all I have.
Yeah, there's enough people to judge you out there, so I agree. Yeah. Dan, you have been a rock in terms of getting everything going for the last 2 weeks. Is there any bits and pieces you want to make a shout out to or say anything? We're doing Tech Pakistan. We know that on the 20th. Hopefully we'll have more information on that to post soon. Anything you want?
I wanted to give Ben a chance too, if there were any final comments or thoughts here.
I think I've already kind of gone through everything I needed to, making sure I teased out as many resources, linked them in the comment section for people. Definitely, same thing goes with Joe, as I've talked with him before. If he needs help, I'll definitely be there to help. He's got a great thing going on, and I'd love to see it continue to grow.
Yeah.
Joe, I would love to get involved if you need it in the Office 365 side of things in terms of getting your domain up and running, your emails. I don't know if you've applied for nonprofit status with Microsoft. I did for my website recently. They're pretty quick to come back. If I can help you some Saturday or Sunday with getting that up and running, please shout out. Even with your Wix website, I actually use Wix for my own website. So I've worked in web development as well for a period of time. So if I can help you with any of that stuff, please. And I'm sure Ben is saying the same, and Dan and Frank. If Frank can help in any way, I'm sure he will. So please do reach out to us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks, Edward. Hey, I would do it all over again. I love my country, so. And thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That was a nice comment that came in for Joe. Can we bring that up again, Dan, for a sec, just so Joe can see that?
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind. Yeah. I think that says it all, Joe, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Guys, this has been the first time we've had our full hour and a half session on this, and we've had such a great turnout of people. Unfortunately, there was one or two people that I wanted to join as speakers, but they couldn't make it. By the looks of it, we will, myself and Dan, over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to say we're going to probably give this week a bit of a relaxation because we've had 2 events in the last kind of week and a half, so close. I'd say we're going to give it a break for maybe a week. But myself and Dan will work on a schedule of how we're going to do the events going forward, what type of events we're going to have, the names. Please, 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 if there's any MVPs or MCTs that want to get involved,
Or wannabes.
or wannabes, you know,
or
we're all here to make a difference. We're all here to help each other. Another thing I do want to say, fundraisers and stuff. My fundraiser, only for Joseph, Dan, and Frank, to be fair to them, who gave money this week, mine wouldn't have gone very far. In terms of, realistically, we've 250 there now to do something with. I'm hoping by the time we have our next session that I have a physical voucher to give out to someone. In terms of, I'm waiting for the money to come through to the bank because the GoFundMe and PayPal don't directly send the money straight away. You have to wait so many days and stuff. So I'm waiting for that. I've set up that the website is a charity, so I will help people. Literally, just ask me for help. When Joe has his Project Veteran House up and running in terms of website, email, all that, I will, if he's happy to, I will post some of that on my own website because I want to get involved and help out remotely where I can with that. Please, just anyone that's listening to us, it's a great team of people. We have. We have a lot of experience. We're open to any sort of questions, agendas people may have, anything they want us to cover, we'll cover it. You know, just give us ideas. We don't want to bore everyone every time we do a session, so reach out, connect, get involved. Yeah. Isn't that really it, Dan and Joe?
Yep. Very good.
Frank and Ben, yep.
Good.
So reach out, guys. Okay.
Thank you
All right.
so much.
Okay, so I think that will conclude, if there are no other comments, that'll conclude the event for the night. Is everyone happy?
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Thanks again, everyone.
See you again, guys. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, guys. Dan, see us out.
Take care, everyone.